This is not one of those contemporary Christian movies whatsoever. One of the ones that I like to read, like or review and watch, like God's Not Dead or Do You Believe or those types of movies. Starring Sterling K. Brown and Regina Hall as Pastor Lee Curtis Childs and Trinity as well, respectively. They run a megachurch known as Wander to Greater Pastures. And at one point, it had a congregation of over 25,000. Well, after some allegations and public scrutiny on Lee Curtis's part, the church is rendered closed. The movie essentially, it's a little tough to explain. It's actually kind of based off the Eddie Long scandal that took place in Georgia a few years ago. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's sort of loosely based on the Eddie Long scandal. I'd look into that on your own time if you haven't heard that, because that's fascinating. But moreover, at the end of the day, it's essentially a mockumentary style because Lee Curtis and his wife Trinity are trying to reopen Wander to Greater Pastures, the mega church, on Easter Sunday, and they're trying a documentary showing them as like a saving face, good PR move that they are changed people and they're not sinners and they're not like who the media has made them out to be over the last several months. Uh, there's a lot I could say about this. It has one of my favorite scenes, top 10 favorite scenes of the year. And that is the scene when Sterling K. Brown and Regina Hall rap along to Knuck If You Buck. That's one of my favorite scenes of the whole year in any movie. I love that song and I love when they rap to it. That was great. But yeah, I could go a lot of different ways with this. But again, I've seen it. My reviews at stevepulaski.com. It's right on the homepage. So I'll mention a little bit about my thoughts too. But I really, like I said, I've had to wait 9 months before the masses could actually see and access this movie now. So now I'm really just curious and to hear how everybody's responding to it, like I was Cha Cha Real Smooth, and even the Yeezus documentary on Netflix. So I'll start with you, Joe. What are your thoughts, generally speaking, on Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul?
Well, first off, man, I avoided, not even avoided like on purpose. It's just, I didn't really get to see a ton of the trailers. I just heard Jordan Peele was producing this, and it has Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown, and I was like, all right, cool. That's all I need to hear. Um, I mean, from the title alone, I did think we were about to review another faith-based film when I saw it on the schedule. But then I read into it. I'm like, oh, okay, thank God. Um, Let me say this: if you don't know anything about this movie, keep it that way because it definitely has some pretty big turns as the movie goes along with one of the characters. To where by the end, I mean, I was like literally on the edge of my seat, like they were revealing some big bombshell. I still haven't watched the trailer. I don't know if it reveals what the whole scandal is that puts them in the place of making the documentary for their church on why, like, you know, they're opening up on Easter Sunday and everything. I haven't seen that, but I want to just first say, if you haven't seen any trailer for this and you have Peacock or if it's playing by a theater near you, um, go in blind and have a good time because that's what I did. I love mockumentary comedies like this. I love when they do this. It's like my favorite type of filmmaking. I loved on Netflix American Vandal, where like it literally follows the story of as Dom knows this actor. I can't remember him. Jimmy.
Oh, Jimmy Tatro?
Yeah, Jimmy Tatro is being blamed for drawing dicks on teachers' cars, and just the whole time like they're taking it as serious as like they can, and it's done in like those like true crime documentary styles. And it's the same thing with us. It's not like true crime or anything, but it's done in a very much a documentary mockumentary style. And it cuts back between that and just like, you know, actual like dramatic scenes, and it does it very good. Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown are really good together. I love watching those two on screen. I love how like at the beginning of the film they're like so religious and everything. They're like talking about like, oh yeah, you know, Jesus and all this, and but as like the movie goes along, they're swearing more, they're cursing, they're taking the Lord's name in vain, they're just forgetting like everything. They're just like, man, if we don't make that money come Sunday, we are fucked. And it's like as the movie goes along, just seeing that pressure get to them was like one of my favorite aspects of it, and just seeing them slowly descent into madness, especially against like a rival church that is also opening on Easter Sunday. And then, like they just have like a quick conversation with them, played by Nicole Barry and I cannot pronounce that guy's name, but they're on screen right now. They play.
Is it
Confidant?
Confidants,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my phone, and my phone's text is like very
What a
small.
gimmicky name. Like, I'm sorry.
It might just be
God damn.
confidence, but like the way it's elongated, it makes me want to say confidants.
Yeah. They play the Sumters, who are their rival church. They're young and everything. They're about to take all their churchgoers. And yeah, man, there's just so many great scenes. There's just so many like interactions between other people within the city. Like there's one where Regina Hall runs into some woman at the mall, and it's like the most like it's like when you're with your mom at the store and she runs into that lady that she does not like either at her work or within the neighborhood, and they just have that long awkward exchange of being nice to one another but really secretly just hating each other. There's like so many great things about the performances here and the way it's done in the mockumentary style, but I'll pass it off to Dom right now to share his thoughts.
It cannot be stated enough how important churches are in the Black community. Like, incredibly influential from the moment they were brought over as slaves all the way through American history. MLK is the most obvious one, but all throughout that, before and after, it cannot be stated enough. This is an important movie that, while not, 100% based off of, facts, it absolutely, actually, thank you, Steve, for bringing that up. I was in the back of my head, I was thinking, like, I swear there was something like this. Yes, the Adamma Ministries scandal, and it was actually part of a larger investigation into like other churches and their tax exempt status. So like, hold on a second. I don't think much came from it,
underrated scandal though of its time.
Extremely underrated. Because sex sells, but tax exempt. Well, that's just the way the world works. Anyway, every year we get one, if we're lucky, two movies that really give us an insight into this world. Not necessarily historical, not like Judas and the Black Messiah or Trial of the Chicago 7. Great movies, very important, just as important. But every now and then we get something like this that that touches on something that we don't realize has so much of an impact. Like, for instance, was it The Secretary? It was the movie where it's not about Harvey Weinstein, but it's about Harvey Weinstein, and he's not shown, and he's like a lingering monster. The Secretary? Was that what it's called? No,
yeah,
it was
we reviewed it. Yeah, I'll look it up. You keep going.
The one we reviewed, The Assistant?
The Assistant.
There we
not
go,
the
yeah.
Assistant. The Assistant.
The Assistant.
Yeah, I think the last year was The Assistant. The year before,
that was 2 years ago. That was 2020. The Assistant.
Oh, geez. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Bad Education, but that is based off a true story. But regardless, these movies are incredibly important. Just on a socio-political aspect, it's an incredible send-up, an incredible satire of this world, this thing that exists. I've seen a couple of preliminary reviews because I was just so interested, and they were like, man, it seems like these guys are playing too much into it. They're overacting. Bro, they are not overacting. They're underacting. People really are like this, not just in the Black ministry community, but just as someone who grew up Catholic, and thankfully all my priests were super boring. But dude, some of those youth pastors, some of those more into it pastors, they all go hard. They go all in. And just a hint of what is showcased in this movie. And then when you couple it with the wealth, with the power dynamics, this whole show, even after the movie that we're going to talk about, this whole show is going to be about power dynamics. It is fascinating. And yeah, dude, what the cast and crew did here, what Adamma Ebo, if I'm saying that correctly, did with this movie is so fascinating.
I agree. It's a little nebulous too, because the posters are marketing this by like a film by the Ebo twins, but Adamma is the credited writer and director. Right. Her sister Adamma Ebo, they did, I believe, Adamma and Adane, they directed and wrote the short film together, and then Adamma assumed the writer and director roles for the movie, and Adane is just on as producer. I just feel like clarifying that because I feel like that was kind of a mess. Like some of the reviews I was reading, they didn't know how to assign credit.
I did see Ebo twins, so I was a little confused by that at first, but then I saw Wikipedia. Okay, I guess they get all the credit. And also too, like I said, Joe brought it up too. It is worth noting that not only did
Jordan Peele also produced this too, but Daniel Kaluuya produced this as well, and both Monkey Paw Productions and Daniel Kaluuya's 59%
I am
Productions
so happy
is
about
also
that
on this.
because that it's really getting support from the Black filmmaking community. According to Wikipedia, despite making a paltry $2 million, I guess not bad considering how little it was marketed, how little it was this and that. I'm curious to see what the
Yeah,
budget
I'd like to know
will
what
be.
the budget was on this thing.
Yeah, I think it's technically a bomb because I think it costs more to make. But who
It
knows?
also depends on the act. I mean, it depends on how much, because I don't know how much NBC Universal paid for it out of Sundance. I don't know how much they paid for
Yeah.
it. To acquire. I mean, and also too, we don't have the Peacock figures to be fair either.
Yeah.
We don't have the Peacock figures.
And
but moreover,
according, just real quick, last thing is according to Deadline Hollywood, over the Labor Day weekend, of all the people that saw it, among 1,800 theaters, 62% of the audience was female, 61% over the age of 35, and 50% was African American. 50% was African American, which makes sense, and that's good because that is, it's an introspective look on this very peculiar part of African American culture.
Look at us in the minority for the demographics of this thing. Just clean sweep. This thing, they missed the moment. Then you got left field, these three douchebags. Anyway, I like that. There's a lot that you could pull on from this movie, and obviously the satire is pretty biting. You know what I will say is that for a first-time director, I think Adamma Ebo really handles the visual look of this thing, because there's like three technically different styles going on right here. When it is in a letterboxed format, the screen, when it's more in like a 4:3 aspect ratio, the film is assuming what is being filmed for the documentary.
Yeah.
When it goes back to 16:9, you get the more traditional widescreen presentation, which is even enhanced by the presence of black bars as well, to kind of show you like this is the reality. Yeah. And then the third style, which I really like because for some reason I watch a lot of televangelists, is like the VHS prints of Lee Child's early sermons that resemble like 700 Club, Salem Baptist Church aesthetic.
That's so accurate. Not that I never really watched much of them. Again, Catholic, not Baptist, but or at least grew up, no longer. But yeah, it's. That stuff is still such a style, such a mood.
It is
such a thing in and of itself, and they nailed it.
There's a church program that it's actually, I think it's still on TV. You know what? I should have put this in my review. I should have linked it even too. It reminded me a lot, and nobody's gonna know what I'm talking about. It reminds me a lot of Pastor Willie Townsend's show. He's a pastor in Calumet City, Illinois. He does a show. He runs the Word Evangelistic Church, and he has a show on every morning on My 50 Chicago at 5:30 in the morning. Those I never made the connection until just thinking of it now. It's the same aesthetic of him and Lee Curtis Child's old sermons and such. Nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about, but I know what I'm talking about. Joe, it's. What were you going to add there, Joe? I don't want to interrupt.
No, I was going to say too. The other thing too is that whenever it cuts from the documentary to real life, the documentary has like a filter on that's like bright and everything. Like it's dumb. And I kind of attribute that to, like, the documentary is them, like, trying to, like, sell, like, the fact that, like, yeah, we're doing fine, we're okay, like, they're lying and everything. But the minute the documentary turns off, man, that filter turns off, and the world is just gray, muddy, ugly, and everything. And it's like, oh, man, like, it really turns scenes, like, where Regina Hall is just trying to be positive, trying to, like, stay focused on, like, I want to get this church back on track, and then something will just come along the way and just knock over the house of cards that she is building up, trying to restore everything. And it's just like watching her and having that flip of the switch of the widescreen stuff that you were talking about, Steve, but then also that filter going off. It is just a crazy adjustment to just, oh God, what is happening? In a good way.
Regina Hall, I need to look over this year of movies, but she might be my leading. From what I've seen, I think she's like at least should be nominated for Best Actress because her performance in this is.
I would
stellar.
love if she was
top freaking notch. Man. She's so layered. She probably won't because I don't know. I don't know how well this will do among like the critics and within the industry. Hopefully the Jordan Peele bump. but internally. But yeah, dude, it's freaking good. It
She
is the where she goes as a character, and it her arc. It doesn't even it completes, but it's not satisfying to much anyone, least of all herself. And there is an apex to this that she literally wears on her face that is like, God damn it. Holy crap, dude. This is what a roller coaster she has been through. Oh my
yeah.
God.
That like
She's really good.
she's been in the game for so long when it comes to acting that I would like just seeing her do roles like this lately, because she was also in the Hate You Give, and I thought she was great in that as well. Like,
Yeah.
just slowly seeing her like be in more and more dramatic roles, whether it be fully dramatic or something like this. It's like, man, I would love if you start taking this route with your career, because she's owning it, man. And I loved her in the Scary Movie films where she played the character Brenda and everything. I've always loved her in comedies as well. But like something like this, it's like, oh man, I love when like comedic actors take this next step, like in like their like filmography, and just do more roles like this. She's great, and Sterling K. Brown, like I said, he's great as well. But I'm kind of with Dom, where it's like she kind of stole the show for me, man. Where it's like anytime she was on screen, I was excited to see what she was doing next. For God's sakes, I mean, the woman literally had to like put on this ridiculous makeup on in the last half of this movie, when not the last half, like the last third of this movie, where it gets really serious, and she's still selling it.
She's so good here through and through. I also one of my favorite Regina Hall performances too is the movie Support Your Girls. Support the Girls,
Support
I
the
think it
girls,
is.
yeah.
Support the Girls. That's a great movie where she's like the mama bear to a lot of younger women who
Yep.
work at this Hooters-esque joint.
Wait a second. Yeah, I think I remember seeing this passed around because it's essentially like a Hooters. It's the Hooters
It's really
movie,
good, and Haley Lou
but
Richardson's in that.
it's
It,
like it's not like exploitative as the actual Hooters.
no, it's like these women are people too. Like
Right, right, right.
it's really good, that movie. Support the Girls, and she was also in Girls Trip too, which I know is more of a broad comedy, but she loans gravity to a lot of things, and Hall is the emotional anchor of this movie through and through. Although I will say that Sterling K. Brown was probably a pastor in another life, the way he carries himself in this, because he is magnet. He's let me say this. He's magnetic when he's in like the pulpit and he's trying to get like his preaching legs back under him. He's magnetic in a phony way that's really, really captivating.
So self-deluded. He's fooling himself. He's the best liars fool themselves, and there's so many layers to him as well. It's I'm gonna keep saying fascinating over and over because goddamn, his intensity is so damn good. And there is the scene where he's being intense with someone one on one, and it's like, oh shit, where is this gonna go?
Yeah.
That you're uncomfortable. You're so uncomfortable.
You know what scene got me to laugh? Because again, this is my second time seeing it. You know what scene really got, and I don't think anybody else laughed in the theater at this particular scene as hard as I did. Is in the early scene in the movie when they first start shooting the documentary rather, is when they're in the closet, that obnoxious $1 million closet, and Regina Hall's like showing him the clothes, and she's like, "You got the purple product. We got the periwinkle product." I lost my shit at that.